Hi, welcome to In One Day. And today I'm going to say with Eric and Lisa.
Thank you for that. It's great to have you guys back again. Thank you for joining us once again. So, today we're taking a dive into your world, right? So,
Yes,
today we're
right.
talking about fitness. We are into the new year now, and I'm sure everyone has their fitness plans ready to go. And so, we wanted to talk about a couple of tips, tricks, things you should do in order to make sure that this time it's successful and it's not just a short resolution.
Right. And let's talk about resolutions for a minute. We really need to kind of get rid of them a little bit. And
Mhm.
I don't mean that in a disrespectful way because so many people are so into resolutions,
Mhm.
but you need to have a plan, a way of life for the rest of your life, not just for January.
Absolutely. I mean, resolutions, they start off with the right intentions,
Right.
right? You're really saying, hey, this is the year I'm going to go out and do it. But, then again, I think a lot of people have gotten accustomed to the fact that resolutions are kind of short in nature. So, really, fitness is a lifestyle change, and you're very familiar with that. And, you really just have to prepare yourself mentally and really get into changing those things about you that are keeping you in the position that you're currently in.
Yes, and to get there mentally, my number one recommendation is get a journal and write in it every single day because you will be amazed with the feelings and thoughts and you kind of get to know yourself.
Hmm.
Like, for example, why did you gain weight besides the 5 pounds of the holiday season?
Hmm.
Why have you gained 20 pounds, 50 pounds? What is it that's going on in your life that's making you unhappy or making you turn to food? And what is your relationship with food?
Hmm.
Like all of these questions are internally about yourself. And when you write pen to paper, not really on the computer, you can, but it's more personable if you're
Sure.
writing pen to paper. And no one's going to read it, hopefully, in your house. So, really express your feelings, and you'll notice that most people who can't lose weight or who have allowed themselves to gain so much weight and let themselves go are going through some emotional trauma that they don't
Hmm.
even realize they're going through.
Right. And that relationship with food is a huge one because, one of the big things that you have to begin in that process is that mindful eating. And
Mm.
we've talked about this in the past, but, really understanding the intention of why you're eating and then paying attention to what you're eating is extremely important because, you can talk to any of the top trainers out there and they're all going to tell you fitness is only going to get you so far. If you really want to be shredded, if you really want the six pack to show and everything, that comes from the nutritional side more than anything.
80% comes from the kitchen.
Right.
80%. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to exercise because, of course, if you want to get toned and you want to look more muscular and more fit, you have to lift weights.
Hmm.
But definitely, it is what you consume
What you
with the
consume.
nutrition. And talking about weight training, a lot of women make the mistake, men too, but more women, of doing cardio, running, treadmill, elliptical, spinning, which is great, but that is not going to change your body.
Hmm.
This is what we really need women to understand. Get off the cardio machines, get into the weight room, lift the weights because that is what changes your body.
Right. It's really the lean muscle mass, right? That's going to
Exactly.
consume. It's going to burn the calories. It's going to help reduce the fat on your body, and that really comes from the weight training. And I know for a lot of women out there, there's always the misconception that if I lift weights, I'm going to get bulky. I'm going to look like a man, and it's really quite the opposite. I mean, if now, granted, if you're taking that kind of supplementation and lifting
Yeah.
extremely heavy weights, you're going to get
Steroids.
larger gains, right? But I mean, all in all, I mean, just doing that physical exercise, lifting those weights, just building that lean muscle mass is what's really going to burn those calories and start dropping the pounds.
Well, and the most important thing is speeding up your metabolism. So, if Eric and I both go to the gym and we have 30 minutes, and Eric decides to go on the treadmill and run for 30 minutes, and I lift weights for 30 minutes,
Hmm.
now we go out and we have a pizza and some wine for lunch,
Hmm.
which is fine. You can do that, not every day. But now what happens is because I did the weight training and he did the cardio, wait till you hear this. He is speeding up his metabolism 8 to 10 hours after the workout. Me, on the other hand, because I lifted weights, are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
24 to
Wow.
48 hours, my metabolism is going extra fast, revved up. And we're going to give the example of the car for
Mm-hmm.
48 hours, up to 48 hours. Now look at the difference.
Yeah, that's a tremendous
And
difference.
that's at rest.
Wow, that's a huge difference. And I mean,
Yes.
even for myself, I've been through this weight loss journey myself, and over the course of these last 7, 8 months, I've dropped roughly around 34 pounds. And for me, that was some of the big differences. I used to go to the gym constantly, and I would lift these heavy weights and all this stuff. But where I was failing was the nutrition, was how I was fueling myself in order to see the gains. And and really there was that adjustment. I spoke to the trainer that I was working with at that time, and he told me, he's like, it really comes down to your consumption. And he goes, you have to increase the amount of protein, that lean protein you're ingesting, and then your carbs are that smaller portion, and of course not the French fries and the baked potatoes. I mean, you can have it every once in a while, but it was really that dynamic shift in my eating that really made the difference. And at that point is when I started to see the pounds come off. I started seeing the gains in the muscle, and I was, starting to see that, and that really just invigorated me to keep going.
And it's consistency,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all three. You have to do the cardio to burn the calories. You have to lift the weights to speed up your metabolism, and you have to eat healthy and fuel your body with good food, not junk food, because not only are you fueling your body, but you're mentally helping yourself. Because when you go to McDonald's and all these fast food restaurants and you're really not fueling your body properly, you're not fueling your mind, and you're in a different mindset.
Right.
But when you're eating healthy and your mind is more positive and more aware of how you're feeding your body, then you're going to say no to all the cheating, all the alcohol, skipping your workouts. You're more, again, mindful, like you said.
Yeah, and maybe not the alcohol, because I do enjoy my gin, but
in moderation.
In moderation, of course.
Right.
But that goes back to the analogy we were talking about, and we've talked about this in the past, and it's your body is very much like a car, right? So if you have this high performance vehicle, high performance engine, and you're putting in that 87 gas, you're not changing the oil, you're not taking care of it, you're not going to get the performance out of the vehicle, and eventually it's going to break down. So the body's very much the same way. It's all about what you're putting inside of it. And that's going to determine how well you digest food, how well you're burning fat, whether you're burning sugar as opposed to burning fat, because your body at a molecular level will make that decision based on what you're putting in there. So all those factors, very, very, very important.
And don't cut out carbs totally. This goes back to these women in my gym, and I hate to focus on women, but it's more women than men, because men like their carbs. But when I owned my gym, I owned a big gym for 13 years in Pembroke Pines. I remember we had the cardio section over here, the weight section over here. And every time I wanted to up my income in personal training, I had 12 trainers working for me. I would send everybody into the cardio room because all the overweight women would be in there.
Sure.
So I would pull one off the treadmill and say to her, like, hey, why aren't you in the weight room? Oh, exactly what you said. I'm afraid of getting big. Well, unless you're injecting steroids into your body, you're not going to get big at all if you're a woman or a man. I mean, it's easier for you guys to get bulkier, but definitely women. Then the second thing they would say, well, I skip breakfast, which is horrible.
Right.
I don't eat much for lunch, and I have a salad for dinner. Well, no wonder why you're overweight.
Right.
Because your metabolism is totally shut down.
Right.
So you need your carbs in moderation. And if you need questions or info about how much carbs, how much protein, how much fat, you could email us. I know you know a lot about it too.
Sure. Absolutely.
But definitely you could email us. You could look at our website, which will be up very soon. But don't cut the carbs. You need carbs to fuel your body, just like the car.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of misinformation out there, right?
So
with all
much.
These fad diets and the quick weight loss type things, which usually end up with someone rebounding heavily and putting on more weight than they originally started with. So, that goes back to one of those important things, is just really know your intention. Why are you doing this? And I mean, obviously we all want to look better and we want to look good, but it's got to be a step beyond that, and that's really just, that goes back to the lifestyle change, and you need to mentally prepare yourself for that.
Yes, and it's a way of life. So if you want to get ready for a reunion,
Mhm.
a wedding, and you want to drop this weight so drastically, so if you take 1 month and you want to lose 20 pounds in a month, then you're going to probably go on the keto diet, which is one of the fad diets you're
Mhm.
talking about, which is 800 calories a day, which is absolutely absurd,
Super restrictive.
crazy.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
even for a woman, the least amount of calories we should have a day is like 1200.
Mhm.
I mean, even 1800. And for men, 2500 men should be having a day.
Mhm.
So if you're cutting to 800, 1000 calories for a man, 800 for a woman, you're killing your metabolism and you're actually hurting
Mhm.
yourself more
Absolutely.
than helping. And what you said, you lose, let's say, the 20 pounds, guess what happens? You go to the reunion, you go to the wedding, you go wherever, you look gorgeous. You go back to eating the way you were eating before, which isn't even horrible.
Mhm.
It's just normal. Now you gain the 20 pounds plus another 10 on top of that.
Right. Yeah. And it comes back quickly. And I think we all say, right, how is it I can put on weight so fast and it takes
Mm.
forever to lose it? But it goes back to exactly what you were saying. I mean, it's about consistency. More than anything, it's consistency. Second is your nutrition. And then third is your physical fitness. So all of that combined is what's going to get you to that goal. Um, so outside of that, I mean, what kind of tips and tricks do you think, in terms of eating,
Mm.
do you have for someone who's just getting started here into the new year?
Well, to cut out a little bit, not a lot.
Mhm.
Like in each meal, just shorten your portion a little bit. So if your plate is filled with food, take 25% of the food away.
Mhm.
And what I always like to say, the fist, your fist, his fist is going to be bigger than mine, is the size portion that you should be having of carbs on
Mhm.
every entree, like every meal. So
Sure.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Take off 25%, drink a ton of water.
Yes, a lot of water.
Green tea burns fat.
Mm.
Kiwi fruit is a fat burner. Lemon on everything is fat burners. Get rid of salt if you can, totally, but
Mhm.
at least a lot of the salt. And just keep drinking water, 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 because you're burning fat, speeding up your metabolism, detoxing. Water is the number one thing I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, accountability is another good thing to help you propel yourself. So in that case, I mean, you can post on social media. You can find someone who's close to you that's really going to support your goal, not really criticize you through the process, but support that goal, and then have them be accountable to you, or you be accountable to them, so that you can kind of have that extra motivation to get through that process. Now, if you
Mm,
do it on your own, which is perfectly fine because some people don't want to communicate it, that was much how I did it.
mm,
There's so many digital tools out there. You can
yeah.
build a spreadsheet for yourself and track your food. There's so many apps
So many
to
fitness
track your
apps.
nutrition on a daily basis. Smartwatches are great.
Right.
I use my Apple Watch to find out how many calories I've burned, which also lets me know how much extra I can eat when I do cheat.
Right. And we were talking about that the other day about I went on a trip to Disney World with my
Mm-hmm.
family and they all were like with the Fitbits and their phones and everyone's like, "Oh my god, we're walking 25,000 steps a day," which I had no idea. I'm a fitness expert. That's what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea how many steps I was doing a
Right.
day because I've never tracked it because I work out every day
Sure.
and eat pretty good. But it was cool. Like the minute they said that every day at Disney,
Mhm.
I was like, hey, how many steps are we doing? And
Right.
it's you want to make it more the second day than the
Right.
first
Right.
day.
Yeah.
It's really
It's like a little bit
cool.
of a challenge to kind of keep pushing
Exactly.
yourself along, and those steps really do matter, and those little
Yes.
changes that you can do on a daily basis. So maybe when you get to work, don't try to fight for that front spot. Park a little bit further down in the parking lot and be fine with that, because all those steps actually do add up, and that's what's going to really help you burn those extra calories as opposed to taking the shortcuts. Now our brains are wired for shortcuts,
Yes.
and that's the biggest issue, right? That's why we don't like going to the gym. That's why we like parking up front. The idea is to break yourself of those habits and really start fueling yourself and working out to make
Mm.
yourself better.
And like what you said about holding yourself accountable, hire a coach, hire a
Mhm.
trainer. And if you can't afford one, 3 times a week. Get one once a month that'll put a program together for you and hold you accountable and say, okay, I want you to do this for 30 days. I have a lot of clients that I do this with, and see me in 30 days. And then when I see them in 30 days, I measure their body fat. I measure the inches of their waist, of their arms, legs, whatever it is that they're looking to accomplish. And then definitely get a trainer if you could afford a trainer. Look at all the apps for sure. There's so many apps out there, but also put a sign on your refrigerator, on the bathroom, in the mirror, on the
pantry.
mirror. Yeah, anywhere that reminds you what to eat, what not to eat. I love to put pictures of like beautiful fitness models that I admire and aspire to be like. And that really motivates me so much.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that, all those tips are excellent. And the other thing is really paying attention to serving sizes. I think that, especially like if you grab a pack of Oreos, I love Oreos. And, so one day I decided to look at it and I was like, let me see what a serving size really is. And it was 3.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute. So 260 calories are 3 Oreos. And I may have had that number wrong. So I apologize. But in the end, when you start looking at all those things and realizing like, wait a minute, you don't think you're over consuming, or I didn't think I was.
How many were you having?
I don't know. I would sit down and maybe have like 6, 7 Oreos. Maybe 8. Put a little ice cream with it or something.
Right.
But then when you really take a look at it, and you're like, wow. I mean, that's like 350, 400 calories in one sitting, and especially if you didn't have any activity that day, you just stacked on that many more calories. So of course you're not going to burn anything that evening. So so that mindful eating really comes back to the whole thing. And another cool thing is the InBody. I don't know if you've come across that.
I love
that.
That
Was
I'm obsessed
just,
with that machine.
Yeah, it was just really just mind opening to understand what my BMR was, and knowing this is what I burn just sitting around.
Right.
So everything I do above that is just a plus.
Yes, and I love with that machine that you measure your body fat, because it tells you how much fat you have in your upper extremities, lower extremities, your abdominal area, which most men store their fat there, the booties for us women. And it's really cool because that becomes a challenge. Like my whole entire family, we get in the car, we go to GNC, and for free, we all get to measure on the InBody machine.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know GNC had InBodies.
Yes,
oh,
the
that's
one
excellent.
in Sunny Isles. I'm not sure if every GNC has it, but it's like a $20,000-$40,000 machine. I don't even know what it's worth, but it's really cool because then you go every month. Because here's another very important key factor. Don't weigh yourself every day or every week. I would say once or twice a month.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it does not matter how much you weigh. Real quick story. I'm 5'10". I weigh 148 pounds because I'm tall. But back in like 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, and it has nothing to do with age. I was not lifting weights. I was doing a ton of cardio, and I weighed about 135 pounds. Okay, 135, and now I weigh 148. At 135 pounds, I was a size 10, and now I'm a size 4, and I weigh 10, 12 pounds more. So do not weigh yourself. It's a matter of how much body fat you're storing on your body, how much muscle mass you have. And people become so obsessed with the scale. And if it's up 2 pounds, 3 pounds, they're like so discouraged. Then they start eating more because they're so upset.
Or they start eating less, which causes your body to store more. So
exactly.
No, I agree 100%. And that's why, that InBody, I liked it so much because like you mentioned, it actually tells you how much muscle mass you have in your legs, how much you have in your arms, how much you have in your stomach. And then you kind of have a better idea of how your weight is distributed and, what you're burning in terms of calories and everything else. And you can kind of target your body a little bit better too. So maybe you have one arm that's stronger than the other. You start working that way a little bit as well. So a lot of cool information if you're able to find one of those. If not, there's plenty of BMR calculators online and stuff like that, just to give you a start point. But I definitely am a fan of that machine.
Oh, I love it. And like what I'm saying, don't be so obsessive with anything, because the more obsessive you are in a negative way, like if it's always, this is a number I have to get, these are the amount of calories, I'm counting every morsel, I have a little chip goes in my mouth, how many calories is that? you become so obsessed that
Hmm.
really it becomes a miserable situation.
Hmm.
So, like Eric says about the portion control, and like what I said, push away some of the food, but don't become obsessive because you want to have a way of life. You
Hmm.
want to live, you want to enjoy, you want to drink your gin.
Right.
I drink my wine, but just cut it down, find a balance, have a moderate, don't go too crazy, but enjoy your life.
Right. And have a cheat day.
Of
But a cheat
course.
day, of course, like cheat in the sense of have something you typically wouldn't.
Mm.
It doesn't mean just destroy the entire day and start from beginning when you wake up all the way to the end of the day, consume 4,000 calories. But I mean, reward yourself because your body deserves that. You deserve that. I mean, again, it's a journey. It's not a quick fix. It's not something you're going to get done in a weekend. This is a lifestyle change. So really adapt yourself to just be healthy, but reward yourself every once in a while as well.
Right. And love your body because I could tell you a lot of, again, women
Mhm.
are so obsessed that their bodies are ugly and like me, I have stretch marks, not a lot, thank God, but some
Mhm.
from having two beautiful babies. I'm blessed with two kids. So what? I have cellulite on my booty. So what? I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect.
Absolutely.
Only the women on the cover of the magazines, everything's photoshopped and
It's Photoshop,
edited,
airbrushed,
right?
all kinds of stuff.
Yes,
Exactly.
but love yourself. So stand in front of the mirror, and this is what I tell all my clients,
Mhm.
men and women, strip down completely naked, look at yourself and say, I love you
Mhm.
to your face, your body, and be happy. I mean, our bodies work so hard for us. We put our bodies through so much. Love your body, accept your body, and you know what? The more you love yourself, because it happened to me when I was competing and I was 10% body fat in the
Mhm.
fitness world back 15 years ago, I didn't love myself.
Right.
But I looked great, but I didn't love myself and I was getting sick and really unhealthy.
Mhm.
Now I look at myself, I'm not perfect. I don't have the six pack, but I love myself and my body in turn responds in a positive way to
Mhm.
my mental state.
Right. And I mean, that goes into something even more important, which goes back to the mental, your mental state behind all of this. And you couldn't have said it any better. You really do have to love yourself and remember that your body got you this far. So it went through everything you went through and it made you, the person you are. You're strong. You've survived so much. And now it's just time to reward your body the way it rewarded you by getting you all through that stuff. So definitely love yourself. You know, take this challenge in this lifestyle change and just really go with it, but do it moderately. Don't try to push things to the extreme. Don't restrict your eating to the point where you're hungry all the time. There's a great way of doing it, and there's a lot of information out there. Lisa is going to be posting information on our website for you to follow. You also have your two shows, which are fitness based
Right.
as well.
Good
So
morning workout with Lisa, which is on every day at 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. And best version of you with Lisa and Brian. And we talk a lot about health and nutrition. And I have to say something funny before we end the show.
sure.
Is did you notice when I was talking, I'm like getting louder and I
Yeah.
feel my veins coming out. I have found my passion in health and fitness
Sure.
because when we talk about it, I'm just like
Yeah,
so
you're in it.
fired
Absolutely.
up. I love
Absolutely.
it because the healthier you are
Mhm.
mentally, spiritually, physically, your life completely turns around.
Absolutely, it really does, and it's a whole connection, and it really just changes everything. And I think when you manifest that for yourself, when you truly believe, I love myself, I will be stronger, I will be better. Your mind really projects that out there, and it actually attracts all that to you, and you just really end up in such a better place.
Yes, and what you say throughout many episodes, place an intention.
Hmm.
Because when you place an intention, you could write it down or think about it, then you manifest the outcome of your intention. You ask for your intention, you believe it with everything that you are, and guess what happens? You receive it. Ask,
Absolutely.
believe, and receive.
There you go. So, with that note, once again, it's always a pleasure having you join us and watching In One Day with us. Again, our website will be coming soon, inOneDay.tv. Lisa has the two shows she mentioned prior, and always a pleasure to have you with us.
Have a beautiful and blessed day. Stay healthy, eat healthy, work out, and keep your mind positive.
Thanks again.